After 2.5 long years in the midst of a global pandemic, the Frontline Fanatics podcast is back. We're doing this thing. We
We're
are
back.
live from the East Coast to the West Coast. My name is Evan Aldifer. I'm joined by my co-host and the one who is actually qualified to speak on anything related to sports media, my man Andrew Aguilera. Aggie, what's going on? How are you doing?
What is up, dude? I don't know about that whole qualification thing. I think we're both equally qualified there, but dude, doing as well as we can be, during these times. I wish we were watching some Richmond basketball right now because that's what we should be doing. But,
Seriously.
Unfortunately, that stuff with Detroit Mercy went down, and I kind of anticipated this happening a bunch throughout the season, and we can get into this more later, but I was kind of hoping it wouldn't happen the first game. So, but besides that,
Yeah.
all's good. Living in Brooklyn, home for the holidays. So pumped to be recording. What about you? Where you been?
Yeah, man. No, this is going to be really cool because I think it's also you and I as friends catching up over Zoom for the first time while also
For sure.
podcasting, right? With all this COVID stuff going on. So, life's good. I've been in DC ever since college. I'm actually out on the West Coast right now in California, spending Thanksgiving week with my girlfriend's family. Don't tell anyone, not supposed to travel. We did all the right things, got tested, all of that. I'll be back in DC next week and quarantining before I see anybody else or doing anything. So life's been good, man. I'm really pumped to get into this. I also wish we were watching some Richmond basketball tonight because we were supposed to kick off the season. And I feel like every time I scroll Twitter and look at like Jeff Goodman, John Rothstein, all those guys, every day or every couple hours you see sources, X game is canceled against X team. And I was just waiting for Richmond's name to pop up, and the program is paused. And thankfully, at least, it's the opponent, not us. So we are slated to kick things off Friday night, or I guess, Friday midday for me, but Friday night for you guys against Morehead State, which should be interesting. So, man, I think, as we talk to the folks who are tuning in about the direction of how we're going to take things, obviously Andrew and I started this thing as part of a senior project, and we focused a lot on Richmond basketball with some underlying themes of sports leadership and team dynamics, fan dynamics. So I think we're obviously going to keep a lot of that. However, we're also going to drift into, just some major league sports, other sports, and really just life, right? Two friends catching up, talking about whatever we want to talk about. So we'll try to keep things, at least for the first half, Richmond focused, and then go from there, man. But
sure.
Anything you want to add about the direction or what you're thinking?
I think you hit it spot on. I mean, obviously, there's, first of all, whoever's consuming this, appreciate you consuming this. There's so much out there that you could be listening to, watching. So appreciate you watching this. Want to shout out Don Forsythes for really getting this rolling for us. He's up listening in the mountains, so hopefully he's enjoying a drink as well. But yeah, besides that, I'm excited get the season going and to make this a thing. Hopefully we'll have, at least one episode every week. I'm sure if some stuff goes down, whether it's, COVID or another unfortunate injury, which we can get into after, or something big, we'll try to, do a quick episode to keep the people in the loop. So one thing I definitely want to say, Evan and I are not journalists at all. We're not trying to be journalists. I don't think we're not here to break news or anything. We're just here to have a good time and, just try to relate to the common fan as much as we can. So.
Yeah. On the topic of journalists, if you're actually looking for professional-ish Richmond basketball content, there's some great people to follow. Noah Goldberg, Austin Daisy, shout out those guys. And then shout out the OG John O'Connor, Richmond Times Dispatch. Can't ever forget about him, our guy.
Oh yeah, he had quite a month of what was it, December last year? Something or over the summer. His Twitter got pretty fun there.
You're not talking about the Twitter likes, yeah. Oh man.
Oh yeah. We're gonna try to steer away from that, but that was a pretty funny day and very confusing day for sure.
We never got to the bottom of that, but hopefully we will at some point.
Definitely.
So let's get into Richmond basketball, man. I think there's so much to talk about here. We could be here for 2 hours going back and forth about this. Here's where I'm feeling, and I'm curious if you're at the same wavelength as me, if you're totally different. But going into this season, this was really the dream year, right? We had a five senior lineup, a deep A10, but not any team that really, really scared you. Maybe St. Louis, of course, is going to be really good, and Dayton, but a winnable league, in my opinion, and really just everything falling into place. Of course, COVID you can't control. as much as you can, but just on paper, right? We had really everything you could look for in a contending basketball team. And actually, maybe even in COVID, a little bit more advantage because of the fact that you've got an older team. They've been there before and they want to win basketball games, right? They're not trying to get used to the college experience with COVID at the same time. We got really bad news a couple of weeks ago with the Nick Sherrod injury. And I don't really think it set in with me as much when it first happened. And even in the past couple of weeks, just thinking about how it affects the team. But I really think that not having Nick in the lineup is going to be a big struggle for the guys. Not saying that our chances are doomed of winning the A10, not going to be a tournament team. I still think we should be a top 3 team in the A10 and hopefully a bubble team at the minimum. But I do think it's a bit of an oversight to think that we're automatically going to be fine with putting someone like Tyler Burton in the lineup to take the place of Nick Sherrod and all of the value he brought to the team. What do you think about that? Are you similar to that, or are you still riding high in terms of the preseason, hopes that we've gotten?
No, I'm totally with you. Nick has been a huge player for us. He's definitely come a long way. Ever since his freshman year, he was, still starting and still great his freshman year, but he was really hitting big shots that sophomore season, really coming through for us in the clutch. And to lose that, for 2 years, it's really rough. Hopefully, he'll be able to get granted a waiver to come back next year and get one more shot at it. But, for him to not be on the court with this team is tough. I think as a leader, as a big shot maker, and to now have, what would have been a senior and now a sophomore step into that lineup, it's going to make a difference. I mean, Tyler, is great. I know Mooney's really high on him, and it looks like just from looking at the team photo, he's definitely gotten bigger over the last year. Yeah. So he's been hitting the weight room. But his shot is still, we still got to see what it is. We didn't get to see him take a lot of shots outside of the paint last year. So we got to see what's happened there. And, I'm rooting for him. I hope he does a great job and fills in great, but not having Nick be a part of the squad is definitely going to be tough. And it's got to be tough for him too. He's losing probably 2 of his better friends on the team after this season, and not being able to play with him is going to be probably pretty rough for him. So I'm wishing him the best. I think he's got a surgery coming up soon, so hope it goes well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think, for Tyler's perspective, he's not Nick Sherrod, right? We just know that. Nick Sherrod is a big-time shot maker. He's a consistent high-percentage three-point shooter, underrated rebounder, and an underrated post-game for a 6'4" guard, right? He's not playing above the rim. He's not locking down your best player, but he didn't need to do that for this team. I think Tyler brings in unique strengths that Nick didn't have, which is those 2 things I just mentioned, being an above-the-rim player, being an above-average defender. And if Tyler even can come in and shoot consistently, even in the low 30s from deep, this Richmond team's going to be really, really good, because Tyler was already going to get his minutes anyway. So I think if we can find a consistent big-time shot maker, if it's from Tyler or the other guys step up, I think we'll be all right. And the good news is we still have, in my opinion, the best defending guard in the country in Jacob Gilliard. We need to get a live stat number on how many steals he is away from the all-time Division I steals record, which is insane.
Yeah, that is nuts to think about.
Might be just over 100, and he was on pace for that last year before the shortened season. So I think Jacob's going to score a little bit more this year than last year with Nick out, but he's still going to do all the things he always does. Grant being the iconic big man in the Chris Mooney Princeton offense. We know what he's going to bring. Blake, a volume scorer. Hopefully he can take a little bit better shots this year. But I'm not worried about those 2, in the backcourt fitting in. And then Nate Ko being the ultimate glue guy in terms of being a 4 that can play defense, get, high percentage shots and run the floor. I think in terms of the players that we've known and seen play consistent minutes for the Richmond Spiders, we're going to get a lot of, good from them. But as we mentioned with Tyler, we're going to have to rely on some new faces or some additional faces that we might not have been thinking coming into the season we would need as much help from. So who are some guys that are popping out to you, Andrew, that you think are going to, be consistent, at least consistent bench players, or have the X factor for this team if the starters aren't getting it done, or if we need to go deeper into the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I think Andre coming off the bench is going to be huge. He's given us some really good minutes the last couple of years, and I think his shooting is very undervalued. He takes smart shots. He's out there shooting, and when he's hot, he has a ton of versatility and can really make a difference for this team, and he really fits into this offense. Surprisingly, I think Matt Grace is going to get a lot of minutes this year. I feel like Grant played a lot of minutes last year, and we're going to need him a lot on the floor. But to prevent injury and just make sure he's out there getting effective minutes, I think there's going to be a lot more of Matt Grace on the floor this year, and I think Sal Caresi as well is going to get big playing time. I personally have not seen a ton from him, and I'm interested to see the developments he's made in the last season or two. But it'll be interesting to see. I think those are going to be the primary three guys off the bench. So I'm probably thinking, rotation-wise, I don't really see Mooney getting a lot of guys in there. He likes to keep a tight rotation. So I think keeping to that 8 or 9 maybe getting Andre a decent amount of minutes and then getting some of the freshmen in there when we can. But besides that, I think it's going to be an 8-9 rotation the whole season. So we'll see. What about you?
Yeah. I'm just like you said, I'm hoping Sal Caresi isn't foul Caresi like he's been the past 3 years. Because I think at one point we were looking at his per 36 stats or whatever the college version is. It might be per 40 or whatever. He had 11.2 fouls per 40 minutes because Mooney would just put him in for Golden when we needed to get some fouls or just get
some extra rest time with someone at the line.
Immediately, right. He would immediately foul 2 or 3 times. What is interesting though is that Andrew and I tuned into a Zoom webinar that the Richmond Athletics Department hosted with Coach Mooney and Coach Russell from the women's team.
Shout out Bob
I asked
Black.
a question on there shout out Bob Black. I asked a question on there that was asked and answered by Coach Mooney. I asked him, outside of the people that we know, who do you think is going to be the under the radar X factor for this team and play a really big part? And he said Sal, without really thinking too much about it. So I would love that because if you remember back, Sal was a pretty highly ranked recruit coming out of New York. I think he went to Iona Prep, coming into Richmond. And you're right, we haven't seen a ton from him yet. And I think he's a really capable player. He's long, he's athletic. So if he can come
he's long, he's long, all right. He's very long.
Right. Between him and Matt Grace, if we can not feel nervous about taking Grant out of the game, that's huge. Right. That's huge. So, I'm in agreement with him being with Coach Mooney in terms of if he plays better than we've seen, that's just another good thing to look forward to.
100%. Let's look into
one thing.
Go ahead. No, you go. All you.
One thing I was curious about too, that Coach had brought up a couple times in that meeting we attended was he was really talking about some of that. Of course, we're curious about the freshmen. With a senior-laden team, but also thinking about, okay, what's 2021 Richmond basketball going to look like? Losing 5 seniors, a lot of key players. It kind of gave us a breakdown of the freshman class. The incoming class is something Andrew and I always like to look into and understand what we're getting. It's pretty clear that the standout player of this class is going to be the freshman point guard, Isaiah Wilson, out of Pennsylvania. Yeah. Coach Mooney was really quick to mention that he's competing against 2 all A10 guards in practice every single day, and Jake and Blake, and he's showing up, taking it personally, working to get better. Looks like he's going to be the Richmond point guard of the future, taking over the reins from Jacob, and it'll be great for him to get a year as an understudy. I think Jacob kind of had a similar experience like that with Chandre. I think Jacob had to play a little bit more when he was a freshman, but he still did get to learn under that a little bit, and hopefully we get a nice transition. I think Jai Bailey is going to be a big question mark. A guy that goes to an ACC school like Wake Forest, it's a pretty big get for Richmond just on paper to be able to bring a guy like that in.
100%.
So he's not totally healthy right now, I think, for what Chris Mooney was saying. He's still working back from an injury, but hopefully he'll be able to give us some wing depth again, because once you look past Tyler and Andre in terms of the 3 position or maybe even the 2, it's not a lot there, right? So between him and Connor Crabtree, another younger guy, or not another younger guy, but another newer guy to the team, I think it'll be really interesting to see how that rotation develops. So what do you think about Connor and Andre to kind of round out the newcomer list there, who we think might have a chance to see some action?
Yeah, I had a chance to watch, all the freshmen, some of their film, some of their highlight mixtapes on YouTube, and definitely all these guys have some ability for sure. It's just going to be about how much they can take advantage of the weight room and, getting shots up. And like Mooney said, if you're not going to be a gym rat, then you're not going to want to come to Richmond. So I have a feeling all these guys are going to be in the gym working hard, especially with that ridiculous Queeley Athletic Center we have now. But I think Isaiah. Oh yeah, the legend. I think Isaiah does
it again.
He's got a great.
Too.
He's got a good looking shot. Reminds me a lot of from what I've seen and from his high school tape. He's great in that transition pull up right around the free throw line. Brought me back to Kendall Anthony. That was his signature move all the time. So I hope those are big shoes to fill, but I hope he lives up to that. He's a great finisher, and I really think he's going to be the guy to step in next. I think Andre Weir actually could be a nice piece as well. He's big, man. He is built like a linebacker. I think he's like 265 listed on Richmond.
Man. Not a linebacker.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, a lineman, dude. He is giant. I was watching his tape. He reminded me a lot of TJ, just the way he's able to pass it out of the middle of the court. If we can run that offense through him like we used to run TJ with passing and cutting, I think that'd be great. Watching Connor Crabtree as well. He's kind of a question mark with the injury right now and that hip surgery, that double hip surgery he's had, which is got to be really hard to come back from because, I have horrible hips and I can already tell and imagine trying to play college basketball all the time. Could not do that. But in his limited time at Tulane, he seemed to be a decent catch and shoot guy. He can shoot the three. Seems to cut well to the basket, which is what our offense is, all cuts. So I'm excited to see. I don't think a guy I'm not going to say I don't think he'll play, but Quentin Southall, I watched him. He plays really hard. He pushes the fast break too, and he's quick on the baseline, but just not sure how many minutes he's going to get. Then again, I'm not in practice. See how these guys are performing, but that's just going off the tape and what I think our rotation's looking like. But pretty excited. I mean, these guys definitely have some potential. I remember when these guys committed, watching their tapes like years ago and being like, all right, this is it. Like Richmond's back. So hopefully, they'll lead in the coming years and we'll have some good contributions this year. So have to wait and see, of course. And, if someone gets hurt or isn't playing well, we'll have to see those rotations, but just hope it's not like a Jordan Andrews Madrid type situation where we thought he was thought he was a good transfer and just didn't work out. So hoping it's more of a Marshall Wood just because Marshall's the boy, but
3 Wood, man. Yeah. It's, I actually think you mentioned Andre. I think it's interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Mooney to develop him pretty quickly. Because again, if you think about it, how excited are you about a Matt Grace-led Princeton offense next year as the big man, right? Or even a Sal big man. And again,
scared,
as Andrew and I said, this is not knocking the people, the player, but we're just thinking about, third-party observers of a basketball team. So I think, like you said, if Andre can step in and start to take that Grant role for when he's gone next year, that's really, really big for continued success as a program. Or Chris could also look, and the team could also look to bring in a grad transfer or just a transfer that might be able to get a little bit more done for us. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how they develop. I think for some guys, like you said, they might not get a ton of minutes because just of how deep this team is. Even losing Nick, we're still deep, we're still old, and Mooney doesn't like to have a very, very deep bench if he doesn't need it. But again, if they're getting the right reps in practice against a top 2 roster in the A10, these guys are going to be ready to go moving forward. So speaking of top 2 roster in the A10, let's talk a little bit about how we're looking these next 2 games. I think we can just keep it right now to the Bluegrass Classic. And then we can, for our next pod after that's wrapped up, we can talk about our other non-conference games because we've done a great job, made a very, very competitive schedule.
Yep.
So what have you seen on Morehead State? What are you thinking about them and how we match up against them for the game on Friday night?
Yeah, I watched some of their film. I really don't know, man. I mean, I feel like it's going to be the first game of the season, so it's going to be hard to really evaluate a team based off what they were last year. But they're definitely bringing in some guys that are quick. I've watched I can't pull the names right now, but I've watched some guys. They're hustlers. They're going to play hard. They know that this team has a lot of hype, this Richmond team, which I personally don't love. There's an article every day on Twitter I see, Richmond's the team, New York Post, Joe Lunardi, Andy Katz, and that just feels like it's setting up for a huge letdown. But I'm going to say, we'll see what happens with Morehead State. I think not playing Tuesday or not Wednesday today is probably going to have an effect. I think getting 1 game and then facing those guys would have been good, but see what happens. I think that's a toss-up. And then Kentucky on Sunday on ESPN. I mean, I was watching that clip Noah Goldberg posted with his question about John Calipari, and I didn't love how much he said he was scared of Richmond, and that makes me scared that we're going to get absolutely demolished by them because he seems like they're going to be prepared. But it's the Kentucky thing every year. It's the one and done. So none of these guys have really played before. So we'll see. Maybe we can surprise them now that we have some experience, and maybe we'll pull out a dub there. But not too confident going up against the number 10 team in the country. But then again, like always, the first couple weeks of college basketball, anything can happen. So we'll see. I think they're both toss-up games. I really don't know how either is going to go. And I know I'm going to be on the edge of my seat for both, no matter what happens.
I think Moorhead and Kentucky actually might be playing. If they're not playing right now, they're playing soon. They played today, and Kentucky won by 36 points. So
yeah, so I'm not feeling great about the Kentucky game.
So I just looked up. Moorhead is 320 in KenPom, and just to remind our folks at home, I think there's 357 active D1 programs. Moorhead comes in one above Dixie State. Not sure I've ever heard of them before.
Dixie
as much
State,
as I tune into, yeah. So I think we'll beat Moorhead by 20, 15, 20. And this isn't me being unrealistic, but I just don't think they're good at all. And we have beaten some pretty bad teams last year that we should have beaten. So again, I don't want to look ahead to Moorhead or from Moorhead State to Kentucky. I am going to pay really, really close attention to how the offense flows, the rotations. One really under the radar point about Richmond last year was we were really, really strong defensively, which is uncharacteristic for us. We've always been an efficient, strong offensive team, but we played great defense last year if you look at the numbers. So I'm hoping that carries over and we just execute on both ends of the floor. It's going to be interesting. So for the Kentucky game, I have my flight back to the East Coast 5 minutes before the game's supposed to tip off. So I'm going to be buying that $20 Alaska Airlines flight internet to be able to tune into that while I'm 30,000 feet.
You're basically going to have pay-per-view for Richmond basketball. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said about Kentucky, if you buy into the unknowns of this year, the unknowns of COVID, and the value of having a senior-led, mature, experienced team that's been there before, it's going to be a toss-up, in my opinion, if you buy into that. If you think that these Kentucky guys are going to come in, they don't know each other very well, they haven't practiced normally like you would, they're still accustomed to, hey, what dorm am I in? Can I go there? Do I have to have my mask on? Like, I can't even imagine what these guys have to do.
Yeah.
I know, at least from hearing our guys talk, that they just want to play basketball games and win games and show that they've got unfinished business from last year.
They're dying to play.
If you think about it, right. If you think about it in terms of just pure talent, I think that Kentucky, guys like BJ Boston, Terrence Clark, I think are the two big names for them. If they come out and play like 5-star prospects that they are, we're going to look unmatched. So I don't know. Honestly, man, I just want to say I think it's really cool that you and I get to watch Richmond play Kentucky, because if you talked to us 3 years ago when we were doing this podcast, we would have laughed and said there's no way it would even be a competitive game.
And these were supposed to be home games, right? We're going to have Kentucky in Richmond.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think so.
I think that's right. I think that's what Bob Black said the other day. I'm not 100% sure, but can you imagine like being at school and saying Kentucky is coming to play at the Robins Center? Like,
no,
I'd probably shit my pants. I'd be like, oh, this is so cool. The coolest guys we got were like Jacksonville State at like 1 p.m. during my leadership class.
That's so funny, because I was literally just going to say I used to get excited for Jacksonville State to come to Richmond.
Wasn't that the game we lost by like 45 points?
We skipped class on Monday at noon.
God.
We both skipped class to go to a Monday noon game. Oh, okay, Google this for me.
Yeah.
Norbertas Giga, Norbertas Giga, was their best player. He dropped like 30. Like, am I right? Did I get it right? You're muted if you're trying to.
I'm muted. Yeah. That's right. So he's a Lithuanian
25.
professional basketball player now.
Yeah, and you and I, we were like, we had no idea who this guy is, and he was actually getting NBA looks. And I think that game might have also been like the elementary school day where you couldn't even hear yourself
miserable.
think.
That was miserable.
So,
my God.
Look, I think it's really cool that we can even say we're playing Kentucky, and then we won't get into things too much right now, but West Virginia, Northern Iowa.
Yeah, that game was his season high in points, 18 points.
Yeah, he killed us. He was
almost 3 years ago. Almost 3 years ago to the day.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I was texting my friends. I think the line for this game is going to open at 7, And I told them
interesting. I just saw the
I
game
would
for
take
Moorhead is Richmond 4.5 is the opening line for that game.
That's it?
Yeah. I might have to come out of retirement after my tough September and October. I might have to come out of retirement.
I was gonna say, am I contributing to a recovery effort here?
No. Yeah, man, 4.5. That's what I'm seeing right now. That's also like a sketchy odd site because the game's not for 2 days, so there won't be a real line. But that's crazy. 4.5.
I was gonna say 320 in KenPom, and I think Richmond's still in the 60s or 70s. And then I think the Kentucky game, people were saying it's going to open at about 7 in favor of Kentucky. I said I would take Richmond 6.5 or higher. Anything lower than that, I'm not taking Richmond.
Yeah. That'd be crazy because the Wildcats were Kentucky today was a 24.5 point favorite against Moorhead. So to only be a 7 point, that means we should blow Moorhead out.
I think
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they won't keep it close, but who knows?
But you and I have seen way too many close games against teams.
I've seen way worse. I don't expect anything ever. So.
Well, here's the thing. I think this will be interesting to talk about a little bit. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter, and I think it was The Athletic college basketball. I forget who the writer was, but there's an article that came out recently about Coach Mooney that was something like they called for his name on billboards. How do you like me now?
Hold on. All right. So the funniest thing, I know that he's going to be listening to this. I got to pull it up really quick. Actually, hold on. So if you follow me on Twitter at Aggie All Day or Frontline Fanatics, I'm usually running that account. In the past, I have had some tweets about Coach Mooney that maybe weren't the nicest, but let me see when this article came out. This is great. This is great radio right here. Great radio. All right. This is 4 days ago. I get a tweet from this guy who follows me. I bet he's going to be listening to this. Guarantee. Shout out Martin Feely. To read his bio, special agent for the FBI, spokesman for New York FBI, and proud Richmond alumnus. So we've definitely got into it.
No way.
Yeah. I've looked him up. He's on the FBI website. He's like a media coordinator. It's
no
hilarious.
Way.
So I'm like on a run. Just got my COVID test before I'm about to come home, and I get a Twitter notification. Martin Feely added you on Twitter, and it posts the article, the headline from The Athletic. How do you like Chris Mooney now? I don't pay the $6 for The Athletic, so I am not reading the article. And he tweets it and goes, how do you like Chris Mooney now? At Aggie All Day. So I clearly have some pretty big space in this guy's head that when he thinks of Chris Mooney, he thinks of me. So I'm glad that my Twitter and podcasting is working. Martin Feely, shout out. Hopefully we can have you on the pod as a caller one day.
Yeah, I was going to say, shout out to Martin. We're going to reach out and try to get him to call in. But Martin, here's my and Aggie, I think will agree with this.
This is the official Martin Feely FBI segment brought to you by the FBI.
Here's our message to you. 3 years ago, Richmond basketball was in a place where we lost to Longwood at home. I think that was our season opener.
Oh man.
We lost to Delaware at home the year before that. We'd lose season openers.
Shout out St. Joe's Ryan Daly, the GOAT.
We'll get into him in a little bit. But as Richmond students, I think Andrew and I were both pulled to the university as sports fans by the fact that, hey, they had that tournament run when we were in, I think we were in like 8th grade or 9th grade, right around then. It's a really good academic school and a small school, but especially the basketball team, you're going to get some quality basketball. We saw a little bit of that in the first year or two, but towards our second and third years, we just started to see the same consistent problems of no offensive rebounding, no defense, playing the matchup zone all the time and just getting burned by it, and consistently dropping games in non-conference that we shouldn't have dropped, right? And so at what point, sure, did things get a little crazy? The whole billboard thing? Yeah, that was a little crazy, right? But I think it was so easy to get caught up into it because we expected so much from this team. Oh, also we'll add getting perennially blown out by VCU and not even being a competent rival to that, right? And so here's what I'll say to Martin.
And the other Chris Mooney supporters, not that we aren't Chris Mooney supporters, but to those that have come at us because we are not consistently backing up a coach who's paid millions of dollars to get us places that we haven't gone in years, aka the Jim Harbaugh syndrome right now. Continue.
No, you're right. I was going to say, look, I think Chris Mooney can say, how do you like me now? Because here's the thing. Another big issue for us was having a consistent program that consistently brought in D1 caliber players that stayed with the program and contributed, right? There was a lot of guys that came in that were out in a year, out in 2 years. and they never should have been D1 players in the first place. But let's think about it this way, right? Jacob Gilliard, huge hit. Grant Golden, huge hit. Blake Francis as a transfer from Wagner, huge hit. Nick Sherrod, homegrown guy, huge hit. Now you've got Nathan Ko, Tyler Burton, not as well known as the other guys, but those are still good players. Andre Gustafsson from Finland, good hit, right? So he's built a competent roster, and we should make it to the tournament this year. And if we do, I think Andrew and I mean, we'll back off, right? We've kind of backed 100%. Off already because he's put us in a really good position. But either if we don't do that, or if we do that this year, and then our team next year is a ragtag, put together team that isn't going to finish top 8 in the A10, we're still going to ask some questions, right? So look, it's a touchy subject, man. I don't know if you've got anything else to add to it. I think people do have the right to say, hey, those who were doubting Mooney, how do you feel now? But I don't think we're completely out of the woods yet, I guess is my point.
Yeah. So what I have to say about this is, for me, I'm a pretty results-oriented guy. And, words don't mean a ton. Sure, we had a good team. We had what was looking like a really good team last year and a potential tournament team. So that's great. But what's that 1 year in the last, 6 years that we've actually, been consistently, in every game, fighting to get to the top of the tournament? So, what we had, 21 wins, something like that last year before the season was canceled?
Yeah.
I don't totally remember.
I'll look it up.
That's great. That's phenomenal. But, I don't know what was going to happen from that because of COVID. So, it's great that we've brought in some solid guys, and I love saying, look, we're number 1. We're favored to win the A10. But at the end of the day, what are we going to do on the court? We could be favored to win the A10 and come in 6th in the A10 behind George Mason. That's the type of stuff we've seen. We used to go into games, and probably 5 minutes into the game, I would know if we were going to win or lose that game. I could just tell the way we were playing, the things we were doing. We got this running down the court, two, every play on defense. I could just, it was so predictable. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I really hope I'm wrong, and I hope we make it and Mooney's revered. And I know he's totally a player's coach. The players love him, which is great. But, it's tough when you don't get results as a fan, and I'm sure they want to win too. And so I'm rooting for the guy. I mean, it's just tough for me because I want to see this program succeed so badly, and I will pretty much do anything to see it change to be successful. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. Look, I think ultimately on this, if we, God forbid, if we beat Kentucky, but even if we play Kentucky really close and look like a good team, and then, again, West Virginia, I think, is a lot better than us, but if we show up there and after a few games, if we look really good, I'll bring back #hire Mooney, man. I'm not, like you said, I'm not afraid of that.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
As long as it's not another 10-year deal, I think we've learned our lesson from that.
Yeah, like I said, he's a good guy. He's a great representation of our program. I think he's a good recruiter for the most part. So we never want to wish bad on a coach or bad on our program. But for a while there, we were just fed up of seeing a matchup zone get destroyed every game.
Yeah.
And the same – look, the Princeton offense can't really be stagnant because the whole point of it is it's never stagnant. But it got to the point where people knew what we were doing. And it's changed a little bit now, and I think the offense and defense both are much better. It's partly because we actually played man defense like a real college team.
And Chris Mooney did say in that video that we will primarily be running man this year, so that makes me a little bit more confident.
Which is great.
Yep.
So, I think to close the loop on Martin, fair enough. We'd love to have you in, and we can have you as a third little screen here. You can add your point. We can get an FBI. We can run an FBI ad in the middle.
Slide in the DMs.
We can run an FBI ad in the middle. But look, I think there's a lot to be excited about. But let's get on the court and see how things go, and make our verdict from there instead of all, like you said, all the preseason hype and all of that we've seen.
100%. But I am very excited to see this team. It's been over 250 something days, and I'm ready to see what we got. So we're gonna go we're gonna be positive this year. Positive until it falls apart. Then it's gonna be maybe negative again. But I will start positive. Guarantee.
We're both positive. We're both really looking forward to this. It was so awesome to have college basketball back this year. I think, like you said, COVID's going to be tough. We could wake up on Saturday morning and not play Kentucky the next day, right? We could lose 100%. Our whole non-conference. They could wipe it away.
I am worried about that. I am worried about non-conferences because I don't think it's not going to be easy to reschedule those games. And I think it's going to kind of be who in our region is available to play. And maybe we just play anyone. Like maybe we're playing Duke
Yeah.
in a month because they got like 10 games canceled. We have games canceled, and it's a 3-hour drive. That would be great. I would love to see that. That would be an incredible watch.
Yeah. No.
I don't even want to get into that because it's so ridiculous, but that would be unreal.
No, me neither. Well, look, one thing we do know is that they're going to play the tournament this year. No matter when it is or how it is, the NCAA cannot lose that much money again like they lost.
They're going to Indy, they're going to push through. They're going to Indy.
Yeah. Look, they pushed through college, and they're pushing through the pros, and they're going to push through this. So we'll see. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about after we actually see Richmond play. It's one thing to just talk about what we see on paper and what we've seen in the past, but like
and 4-minute highlight videos on YouTube.
Right. Nothing is given. Nothing can be taken for granted. So we'll see how we come out and play in Kentucky these next 2 days. And I think the plan is, we're going to have I would personally like to do another podcast maybe on Sunday after Kentucky game and get those fresh results.
Yeah, 100%.
If not early next week.
Definitely.
So we'll have the recap of the Bluegrass Classic, and then start to talk about the other games on the calendar.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else, Richmond, that you wanted to talk about?
Not really. No, I think I'm good. I do wish that fans would be there so we could have a couple beers at the Robins Center, but what can you do? Can't do it all.
And
a large Sprite, of course.
Right, large Sprite. Who was it? Pfizer, Moderna, Gilead. We need
put
everybody
them
can
all
come
in me.
through.
Whatever I have to do to see some basketball in person, just put them in me. I don't care.
Yeah, right.
Let's get it.
The last time I was down in the Robins Center was we played St. Louis in January 2019 or no 2020 this year, and that was the game we lost at home to a good St. Louis team who's going to be good again. So it would be. I'm not expecting it. It would be amazing if I could get down to the Robins Center at some point in the spring if it's safe and comfortable. But we've got to roll with the punches, and if I can tune in and watch basketball on my computer on the Richmond Spiders YouTube channel, I'm all right with it.
I'll watch it on my phone. I don't care. Any way I can watch it. All right. I'm excited.
You want to wrap up a little bit with some basketball, some football?
Yeah, let's do a quick hit.
Yeah, I think we're late to the game here on the NBA bubble, but
just a little bit.
Success. LeBron is the greatest of all time. I don't want to hear it from anybody.
No doubt. Yep, done.
Mickey Mouse ring. You can say whatever you want.
He
won. He had the same advantage, disadvantage as everybody else. And they're going to come back next year and look good.
Dude, their roster has improved so much.
Good.
It's crazy.
It's good. And I was just talking about the Western.
Perez is huge.
I was talking about the Western Conference because everyone's talking about the Suns and Chris Paul going to the Suns.
Get out of here with that.
So great.
Get out of here.
Well, I was like, there's like 10 teams in the West Coast that I'd take over the Western Conference that I'd take over the Suns. And the Warriors are one of them. I'm in San Francisco right now. Really stinks about Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
I think, Andrew Wiggins, #1 pick, splash brother in waiting. We'll see how that goes. Or Kelly Oubre, man in the NBA.
Yeah. Oh God. Get out of here.
But yeah, hey, you're kind of I know you're a Nets fan, but you're a big LeBron guy. So bubble must have been fun for you to kind of watch all that unfold.
Yeah, I mean, first Laker guy first. I hated LeBron until he came, which was a huge mistake because I was wasting my time watching greatness and being mad at it. But yeah, the bubble was incredible for me. I actually truly believe it is one of the most incredible things that has ever happened, not only in professional sports, but like ever. Like the fact that they were able to put this together. I mean, they lost a ton of money doing it, but that's how much they care about their fans and the players. And, in terms of social justice stuff, I think it was great that the whole agreement was for these players to be able to promote what they wanted to promote with what was going on in the country and, with the stoppages and the boycotts, which was crazy, but it ended up working out. And I think it was a huge victory for them. And I think it just shows how the NBA is the most player first league and also that Adam Silver is the best commissioner in any pro sport. So I just want to list that because I will go to the edge of the earth to defend the NBA. As much as people want to shit on it, that the product's not good and college basketball is better, NBA is my favorite product to watch. That's final. It's the best.
Yeah, no, and I'm one of those people, right? I don't shit on the NBA and say it's a bad product. I'm still taking college basketball over the NBA. I'm still taking college football over the NBA. And I might still take NFL over the NBA. And I love the NBA, and maybe it's just because I don't have a team. Like I've been not a casual, but I've been a an unbiased NBA fan for years because I never really caught on to the Wizards, right? So
Yep.
I do think the whole regular season is still a little tough for me, but the bubble was awesome, like you said. I do want to give a plug to the Washington Post NBA columnist Ben Golliver is writing a book that I have on my list called Bubble Ball that's coming out in the spring. Check that out. I'm going to buy it. I've actually got it pre-ordered already, and that's going to be one of my must-reads of next year. He was in the bubble for the entire time. But yeah, like you said, it was crazy that it worked out, right? And that there were no outside of like who was it, the Kings player that crossed the bubble to get pickup food, and then Lou Will Lemon Pepper. We all know how that went, right? There were a couple
then we
of
had
hiccups.
what was his name? The Rockets guy who hooked up with the COVID tester.
Oh, yes. Oh, I forget his name.
That was the best. That was my favorite story in the bubble. Oh my God, it's not Daniel House. No. Oh, I gotta look.
That sounds like it could be right. More great radio.
Yeah, Daniel House.
Right
Daniel House. DANUEL. I mean, that was not my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
That was the most savage thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Also, Ben Gall, former coworker of mine.
Oh, really? SI guy?
Yeah, SI guy. Just shout out.
Nice. Love that. Yeah. One other quick thing on the bubble that I just wanted to bring up was I listened to the Tony Kornheiser podcast a lot. Shout out Mr. Tony.
You love Tony Kornheiser so much.
I love Tony Kornheiser.
I remember, didn't you go to one of his live shows?
Yeah.
I remember that.
No,
you love that guy.
He sold the restaurant. The restaurant was not a profitable institution, but I still listen to his podcast all the time. And he had Tim Bontemps on, who's an NBA writer for ESPN. And he told a funny story that when he first checked into the bubble at the hotel, I think, not the nice yacht club one that LeBron was in, but the other one, the receptionist is like, "So we have you here for 78 nights?" And I was like, "Oh my God." Imagine being on the other end of that, being like, "Yeah, this is just something totally normal that I'm doing in 2020. So, look, I think my last thing on the NBA is Lakers should repeat, in my opinion, unless LeBron decides it's time to take it easy. It's crazy that he's still.
That's not happening.
No, it's not. It's just crazy
until
that
he retires. He will be the best player on that team, and offense will go through him.
Yeah,
it's insane.
That's fine. So,
dude, one thing about the bubble, I gotta say too, coverage. Watching ESPN at night with the SVP, he had Tim Legler on. Man, Timmy Legs is not looking good these days. I advise someone to watch. He is not looking great. The makeup is not doing him any favors there. Love the guy though. He's great. His analyst is great.
Not political, but you mentioned SVP. So after the election, and the guy John King on CNN who's running the board, and he's like, come down here, this county, there's a road that turns right, there's a church, a lot of Democrat votes there. No, he loved him, but Scott had Legler on his podcast to talk about just the concept of being the video board guy, because Legler would do all those breakdowns.
Yeah, with the iPad.
And, they talked about the science of being the magic board guy, which was really cool.
The science.
But yeah, no, bubble is crazy. What's also crazy is how good the Colts are, which I know you want to talk a little bit. So please convince me that the Colts are the best team in the AFC and that Phillip Rivers can actually win a playoff game in 2020.
Well, that part is the one thing I'm not sure about. I think we are one of the strongest all around teams in the NFL. Rivers makes me nervous. I gotta say, the first couple games, Rivers was Rivers, especially that Jacksonville game. Those 2 picks at the end of the game, week 1, were brutal. Should have won that game. But, I mean, it's a battle for first place this week. We're going to see what happens. He's looked better the last 2 weeks, but I just don't know. I mean, obviously he's not the future, so we'll see. I think he's done after this year. I don't know if Jacoby's the guy. I love Jacoby, my man. I don't know if he's the guy either, so we'll see. I mean, the defense is just unbelievable. I mean, it's just so good. Everyone is good. Even Xavier Rhodes, who was like one of the worst rated safety cornerbacks last year for the Vikings, comes over and he's incredible now. So, I mean, Buckner went on COVID IR today, so that's a big hit for this week. I feel like half
good hit
the
for my fantasy team for Derrick Henry. He's about to run all over him.
Dude, I feel like half the league is on COVID IR right now. But talk about people who are not handling the season well, NFL. But I mean, that Thanksgiving game getting canceled tomorrow sucks. Those other 2 games are horrific games. So,
I got a 9:30 and a 9:30 and 1:30 games tomorrow here on the West Coast, which is going to be super interesting.
That's rough.
But one thing on the Colts, can you imagine how good they would be if Luck was playing this year?
I know, but you know who is playing well? Mo Ali Cox, shout out.
Yes, shout out.
He did fumble. He
by the
did
way,
fumble last week, which wasn't great, but he's been solid.
Like
he's gonna be
six.
He's gonna be legit.
He's like 6'7", 6'6", like no taller
He's
than
ginormous.
that.
He's ginormous.
Dude, he looked like he was 7 feet 300 of muscle when we were standing next to that guy on the court.
Yeah, he looks giant on He looks giant on TV too, but they're legit. I mean, what about a team like the Bucks, man? I don't know. They can't play in prime time. Brady's been struggling, but
I'm out. Look, I think Brady still might have some good games. I hope he does, because again, he's on my fantasy team this week. I'm benching Lamar for him, and we'll get into Lamar.
Yeah.
But Brady, again, shout out my guy Barry McCockiner, because he's all over this. I just don't think Brady has it. Like, you've got that such good wide receiving core, and all you can do is dump it down to Fournette or like throw over the middle to Gronk like twice a game. Offensive talent, they're good. I don't think the defense is as good as they let on at the beginning of the year.
I don't think so. I think JPP is the whole defense, which is crazy, but he's their best defensive player.
Right. And look, I think the Bucks, I just think the Bucks on offense are only going to go as far as Brady can take them. And the NFC is really interesting, right? Because we wanted to talk about the NFC East today. We'll get into that in another one. But I mean, what do you got? The Saints?
The Saints. I was talking to someone today. I just traded for Taysom Hill in a fantasy league I had. Taysom Hill for Cole Beasley. I played him in flex
last week.
Had to do it. I had Joe Burrow. Unfortunately, you know, that injury happened. Sucks. I'm a huge Burrow guy. I think he's the man. I think he is the guy to lead Cincinnati places. But nonetheless, I was talking to someone today, and they were saying they think – I was like, oh, should I make this trade? Because, you know, Taysom's a rental for only 2 weeks. And anonymous source says – I think this is what Peyton has wanted the whole time. I think he wanted a Breeze injury. I think he wants Taysom to be the guy. So even when Breeze is ready to come back, Taysom's the guy. My mind was blown on that, but then I started thinking about it. I'm like, wow, it kind of makes sense. Like, Breeze has not looked great this year. There's been games where it looks like he can't throw more than 10 yards. I know that now he has Michael Thomas back. It's going to be better because he can just throw slants to him all day, the slant king, Michael Thomas. But the Saints are good, though, besides that. I don't know. As much as I hate to admit it to my buddy Billy Rose, diehard Saints fan, but I think they're legit. I think them being the 1 seed is surprising. I saw their records 8-2, and I was like, I feel like they are worse than that, like record-wise. But
yeah,
that division is not what we thought it was going to be. The Falcons are terrible. The Panthers are weirdly competitive, but just have a terrible record. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they beat the Bucks twice already, so it's looking good for them to be in first place unless something crazy happens.
The Saints. When you think about the Saints and you think about Taysom, I mean, Taysom is the mold of the modern day NFL QB. Right? I mean, Taysom is maybe better on the ground than he is in the air right now. He had that awful throw, that like duck that sat. I think it was Emmanuel Sanders that like came back 5 yards to catch that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you think about the best quarterbacks in the league right now: Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Mahomes. We'll keep Lamar in the conversation. I mean, all of these guys are two-dimensional. Some of them are better runners than the other, but they all can run. And with Taysom being a weapon. With on the ground, just normally, even if he wasn't a starting quarterback, I think he'll have plenty of success. I think they can still win games with him very, very easily. So, like, I think the NFL, I think it's the Chiefs, I think it's the Steelers. I guess you could throw the Ravens in there.
We'll see. I don't know about the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers are legit.
I'm bought in. I am bought in.
I hope I'm old takes exposed on that. I don't think they're legit. I think they have a weak schedule. That division is just not that good this year. Somehow the Browns are 7-3 makes no sense. The last 2 games I've watched, they have looked god awful, and not almost as bad as Carson Wentz and your Philly boys did last week. They were god awful.
Well, I have no comment on that. I have no comment on that other than it's a wash season for the Eagles. Putting Jalen Hurts in is not going to solve anything.
That's not the answer.
A terrible
Definitely
pick. He was a terrible pick for the second round. I don't know if Wentz can be a quarterback that I have confidence in again, like he was that 1 year when he was on the MVP season. But it's a lot.
Nick finished off.
If the Eagles make the playoffs, we're going to lose in the first round, and that's fine. And
I think whoever comes out of that division,
I don't even need to talk.
Whoever comes out of there is losing first round. I do think I weirdly am bought in on the Giants. I don't know why I'm bought in on the Giants for some reason, but I also think
on the football team.
See, me too. I like Alex Smith a lot. He has looked good. And somehow, something that makes no sense, how was Andy Dalton allowed to play in that game last week? He literally said, I can't taste, I can't smell, and he 100% still has a concussion. No idea how he played, but he also played great. Maybe the Cowboys are still in this. Who knows? It's a mess.
That reminds me of when I was playing youth football, and one time our running back came back to the huddle after he got destroyed on like a dive. And he came back and said, "Hey, are we on defense or offense?" And I was like, "Coach, let's get out of here."
Oh my God.
I didn't even know that Andy Dalton was actually playing, which is really funny.
Yeah, he balled. I mean,
but
I almost said the Cousins is. The Vikings are terrible too. So.
they're gonna, again, Cousins will take him as far. Again, you mentioned them. It hurts because Jefferson could have been an Eagle. He should have been an Eagle. He's playing great. Him and Thielen, I have, varying amounts of them in my 3 fantasy teams.
COVID list.
Where I'm a combined like 23 and 12 in my 3 fantasy leagues, by the way.
All right. Shout out.
It's good.
I suck.
Good
I'm
year
terrible.
for fantasy football.
I'm terrible. But I think one thing that shows just the Carson Wentz effect is that somehow Nelson Aguilar is now the best receiver in the NFL, apparently, on the Raiders. So,
although he had 2 terrible drops,
that's true.
Very Aguilar.
2 bad drops that they could have won that game.
Someone put a picture up of Aguilar dropping a ball, and then that guy in Philly who was like, "We was catching babies," unlike Aguilar.
That was a great clip.
I had a picture. Dude,
yeah, that's so great.
Of course, that's just classic. And what's crazy, our 2nd round pick, we picked the guy over DK Metcalf. JJ Arcega-Whiteside was like a healthy scratch. He can't even get on the field.
I remember him. He's been awful.
We play them on Monday night. DK Metcalf's going to have 18 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. You can lock it in that that's going to happen.
Did you see, I think it was SportsCenter posted, they were like, is it time for the Eagles and Doug Peterson to bench Carson Wentz and play Jalen Hurts? And the first comment is DK Metcalf, all caps, yes. Next comment, DJ Dallas, yes. So funny, just absolutely trolling. Maybe they're pulling for their guy Jalen, but absolutely trolling the Eagles. I think that's going to be a murder. But, speaking of the NFC North, where's Kyle Lauletta at these days?
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a weekly
installment. We had Where's the Ball in our first installment. Now we're going to do Where's Lauletta. So here's the thing. He was on the Giants, then he was on the Eagles. Yep. Then he went to the Falcons practice squad.
My
guess is going to be the Browns.
Yeah. Browns practice squad.
Nice.
Maybe I thought he was the same draft as Baker. No, is that right?
2018. No, I think I thought Baker.
No, 2018. Baker was 17, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Wait, maybe not. That sounds right.
No, Baker was 2018. You're right.
They were the same draft. So I think the Browns are finally getting the guy they really wanted. So. Shout out Lauletta. I think he'll be taking the job from Baker in a couple months. So
would love that because Baker is not doing it. He needs to just stick to the commercials and do that full time.
Yeah, dude, those commercials are awful. They're
terrible.
I feel disgusted every time I watch that. But
yeah, we'll have a lot more football to talk about after the Sunday
and we got Richmond football in the spring too. Hopefully, we'll see.
Again, to be honest, I need to do some research. I can't even tell you after all my guys left.
We're not good.
All my leadership guys left. I had no idea. They're all killing it in the real world, by the way.
Shout out Dale Matthews.
Shout out Dale Matthews. Shout out Gerald. Shout out Johnny Moore. Those are the boys. But yeah, I got no idea who we are now. So we'll,
me neither.
Kind of.
I don't think we're very good though. So it doesn't matter that much.
No. And to kind of wrap things up and again talk about the direction. So like I said, Aggie and I did this as part of a project, part of just something we wanted to do. We love talking sports. We both love to talk, as you can tell. But I think we're going to keep this thing going for a while. I don't know if we've got a goal or an end that we're trying to reach, but I think
I don't really have a goal. I don't care if no one listens. We're doing it for ourselves, really. So if you listen and enjoy it, that's great.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. We want to thank everybody who's got given us a chance to listen this far. I don't know how long we went, but
I think we're right on an hour, like 57 minutes. So That's pretty solid.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. So I think the people what do you think we're going to get this out to the airwaves? I know you got to do some editing magic.
Yeah, I'm hoping tomorrow. It's still early. Nice. It's only 9:20 on the East Coast, so I don't really have anything going on. I could play PS5 until 4 a.m. again, but probably would be better to get this out. Maybe it's out. You're listening to this on Thanksgiving after you're drunk and falling asleep from all the food you've eaten, or maybe you'll be listening Friday morning before the game. We'll see. It'll be out. I'll tweet it out, Instagram it, I'll post everything, follow the Twitter account for everything else, updating the website. So we're going to be up and running. We're going to be on YouTube. Going to have, if you're watching this, you're probably watching it on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram. Yeah. But we're super excited. Just keep your eye out. This will be happening every week for sure.
Front_Fanatics on Twitter. We're going to get our follows up. The YouTube page, we got video on. We're not hiding from anything, so come at us. We want to get some guests on here, or at least take questions for some segments at the end. So please interact with us on those socials, or hit us up directly if you know us. I think we've got enough friends that might be tuning in. We'd love to get people on, or just get your questions in. But yeah, thanks again, everybody, for listening. We're really excited about this. We're gonna have this going as long as we're wearing masks outside, and that might be another year. So who knows?
Yep. Yeah. So we'll see. Slide in the DMs. Did have a question from this week. Sorry, Connor, we didn't get to it. We'll start with it next week. You know what it is anyway.
Early next week. We'll record it up, and we'll do. Yeah. We'll gather at least 5 questions. We'll get like a little Q&A segment going.
For sure.
Awesome.
Gonna reach out to some people. Hopefully we get some guests in here. We'll slide in the Twitter DMs. Maybe a former Richmond ESPN host will be on. Who knows? We'll see.
Oh.
We'll see.
Won't give any spoilers to that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm good. Evan, how about you?
I'm good. I think that's going to do it for the reincarnation of the Frontline Fanatics podcast, sponsored by absolutely no one. Again, if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening in. We really appreciate it. And we'll probably be back with another episode next week. We're going to try to do this weekly, and the Twitter account's going to be up and running. So it's going to be an awesome season following Spider Sports and catching up with you and talking with you every week, man. So thanks for hopping on, and we'll do this again soon.
For sure. And roll Spide.
Roll Spide, baby. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your turkey. We'll catch everybody next week. Peace out.